Hello. During the year of the forest, we have some pretty special events that take place. But I think none more so special than the New Forest Show. Now that's been going on since 1921 in different various forms. But I can always remember the excitement and the buzz, and it's still true to this day. The commoners always talk about the New Forest Show like Christmas. You've got to get things done by Christmas or after Christmas. Well, very, very similar to the show. You'll hear the expression, I've got to get done before the show, or I've got to get it done after the show. It was almost like this timeline that's set. And I can always remember the excitement in my family when the show began to come around. My grandmother used to start cooking and baking, and we used to make, well, she called it a flan. I mean, I think the modern term nowadays is quiche, but she used to make what we called a flan and had the egg and the bacon and cheese put into it. But for some bizarre reason, we always seemed to have peas in it. It was always bright green peas put into this flan. And during the middle of the show, on a hot day, sun was always shining. It never seemed to rain. We'd sit round underneath an oak tree somewhere. And I remember as a child tucking into this piece of flan. Absolutely delicious. And so the show itself has been running now since 1921 in different forms. It's got bigger. It's a 3-day show now. A lot of people go. I think over 100,000 people visited this year. The cattle classes, obviously, great interest to me. Now there's one of my favourites now with the Herefords at the far end there. The good native traditional breeds of cattle. They're the Limousins. We have the Continentals. And this is an expression led by the nose. If you see the ring now with the rope against it, and how that girl just held that rope up, and that 1.5 ton weight of animal to stand still. So hopefully now they're going to go back to the native breeds. There's the Limousins. Got a feeling they're probably going to win actually. Nice looking cattle, very big, very wide. There's the Herefords again, they're coming out. They've spent hours and hours, and I remember as a child watching these cattle being prepared for shows. Shampooing, blow drying, chalk put into the white to make it nice and bright where it stands out. The judge is now walking up and down to make their decision. Hopefully they're going to go for the Herefords, but there we go, gone for the Limousins. Still good cattle, still nice looking animals. You know, the red rosette in the centre for first prize, done very well. At the same time, the sheep is going on, the sheep judging. And they're all lined up, all mixed breeds. We've got a Wiltshire Horn in the middle there. We've got Hampshire Downs on the left. Yep, and there's the Hampshire Downs. And they are a traditional breed from this part of the country, but not very well liked by the shearers because they've got a lot of wool around their heads and over their bellies. So if you're shearing, a lot of work. I know myself when I shear my own sheep, it takes me about 3 days. A job to get out of bed in the morning sometimes. The judge is now checking for the fat on their backs. And, quick check underneath just to make sure they're equal size in working order. Sheep are very good just to stand there very, very still. And he heads around the front now. But lovely looking. And this is a match pair. Sold as a match pair. Now, South African shearer. This chap now is shearing this young lamb. It's not very old.
Have you not heard of the barbecue?
Some of the comments he made actually was quite amusing. A lot of youngsters there. I think at some point you mentioned about a bikini line and asking for volunteers.
Let's think about what Mother Nature did.
My great aunt does a lot of this. She sits there in the evening. She's in her late 80s. Doesn't have a television. And she sits there in the farmhouse on her own every evening, listening to the radio and spinning. Teasing the wool out. And she knits her own clothes, still does it. So she spins the wool off her own sheep, spins it onto these spindles, and then knits it. Now this is again a very hot competition in the bee tent. You know, I remember my granddad trying to get as many bowls as he can out of this jar of honey to put it on the shelf to enter into this competition. All a different colour honey. So depending on what plant the bees are fed on, you'll get a different type of honey. So the darker honey is often from the trees, like the chestnut. The lighter is from the heather and more of the flowers and the hedgerows. Now this is the Salisbury Poultry Club. Now the bantams, are now kept because of what we call a fancy breed. But in days gone by, the gamekeepers used to use a lot of bantams. Before the start of incubators, artificial incubators for hatching the pheasant eggs, they used to use bantams because they go broody very, very quickly. And so what they used to do was have coops full of bantams all sat on pheasant eggs. And these are like the puff Pekings, the Peking bantams. And again, a little bit more like the wild type bantams, those. They're much smaller, finer. So it was more traditional looking bantams that were kept around farms that these gamekeepers used to use. In the years I've been going to the show, the machinery has changed an awful lot. Big, huge combines, brand new diggers, all very commercial, trying to sell these bits of equipment. Items of equipment that personally, a lot of money. But the children do love climbing on these. Now the tractor here on the right, the old grey Fergie, that's one from the farm here. And I learnt to drive on a grey Fergie. You used to have to start it by pushing the gear stick into S for this thing to start up. Lots of other old machinery there. Flatbed lorry there, a bit beyond my time, that one. But maybe one or two people could just about remember those. Now the Fergie was the first people to develop the complete plough system. Complete system to go on the back, the 3-point linkage. Fordson Dexter in the front. But these tractors, these Fergies, the ploughs are still sought after nowadays because they make fantastic ploughs for ploughing matches. Very easy to adjust the width of the furrow, the depth. Got turn handles, as you can see on the back there. And so very, very popular. So you have a 3 furrow at the front and 2 at the back. And these are still used today. You have a finger bar mower, the one in the centre. The forerunner of what we call the drum mower that cuts the grass nowadays. And I remember using this. This is called the Lady Acrobat. And it turns the hay. And it was mesmerising watching those wheels spin as it turned the hay over. I think I spent more time looking behind me than I did actually in the front when I used to drive the tractors when I was a youngster. Oh no, this man here, now this is what we call a bodger. Probably nowadays you probably call more of a wood turner. But that's where the expression came from, to bodge. But it didn't mean that in those days. This guy used to be able to turn spindles and spoons, often out of ash, rough shaped ash. Again, all done by hand, very, very similar to the spindle, to the spinning wheel. And as he turns it. So he was called a bodger. But this chap here, and I was lucky enough to have a chat with him for a short while, and it's in great demand. People want to know about these old traditions and try and keep these alive. The New Forest hounds, and they have their own tent here at the show. The beagles. I spent a lot of time following the beagles. Hares will run uphill, and so I used to always position myself on top of a hill, because at some point I thought I might get a glance at the hare as it runs up the hill towards me. Now these are now the New Forest bloodhounds. They follow human scent now, not foxes any longer. And their coats have changed. In those days when they were foxhounds, the huntsmen used to wear red coats. But now because they've gone to bloodhounds, the coat colour changes. And so you'll see them all wearing these mustardy sort of yellow type coats. So they're heading out to the ring. Oh, crikey. That mare there is probably what we call a crab fly. We've got these own flies that are very peculiar to the forest. And some horses that aren't used to them will react just like that. In fact, in days gone by, when at a competition, what some old forests used to do was take along a few in a matchbox, and let these go to disrupt the other horses. Now this is the stallion class trotting round. Now that one that just went past us, that is a lovely, what I consider a classic forest pony. Those nice looking bay, dark legs, fine head, a little bit of Arab in them. At some point in the past in the history, they think Arabs got into them. They are. Somebody there make a decision there on what they prefer, what they like. Has caught the eye. Now there's probably the winner having its photograph taken. Oh. No, do you know what? Didn't pay any attention whatsoever to the hat being thrown in the air. Again, some nice dark ponies. You know, some of my favourites there moving around. Look at that. See the shine on that coat of that pony going around. Can be a bit of a handful, as you can see there. That one's struggling a little bit, heading all round. But these classes are still so popular. Even over 30, 40 years ago, it's still not reduced in numbers. We have a lady giving the commentary, just checking her time, see how things are going. The judges are going to make a decision now. The trophy's going to be handed out. Heading forward, and who they've decided upon. And it's gone to a roan. Nice looking mare and foal, well behaved. But not quite my favourite, not keen on roans. They look well, they've done well. But really, to me, the classic New Forest pony is going to be like the bay, maybe the chestnut, a nice dark bay. Now, the horse classes have changed an awful lot. The show jumping. When I was a kid, I remember being dragged around by my mother in the ring, actually, on a lead rope class. And I think we were jumping poles that were sort of barely off the ground at that stage. It's all progressed a lot further, and the winners of this go on to the Horse of the Year show to qualify for that. But as you can see the horse towing him into the jump there. Got to take it nice and steady. Got to keep the energy up, keep the bounce up. Cleared those poles very, very nicely, heading out. People in the forest now win awards for different things they've done. And this group of people now is being given their prizes, awarded their prizes. You've got people like the Best Producer of Local Produce, the Young Commoner of the Year award. What a fantastic day. The show itself goes on for 3 days, so it's a long time, and it is exhausting. Lots of different things, lots of people to see, meet, talk to, and the whole buzz of the excitement of the show is fantastic. But I think if I was to choose one particular moment out of the whole of the show that was perhaps the highlight to me, and a real honour, and that was presenting that trophy to the Supreme Champion of the show. A sash was put on the pony, and just the whole feeling of the show, the accumulation of all that effort of those people who put into producing those ponies. It was fantastic, and what a great day. And so I'd like to say thank you for joining me for that day. It's been great, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.